Welcome everyone to the June Tableau user group. Today we're going to have a little session, a high-level overview of Tableau Admin 101. Some of the things that are going on the server. Christin's going to click us through most of them. You want to kick us to the next slide, Christin? So this month we changed things up a little bit. My picture is of my dog, Oliver, at the bottom left. He is a tricolored Pembroke Corgi, and he's amazing in every way. But I'm Sean. I'm an analytics consultant here in Oklahoma City. I work at Interworks, where I go from client to client, assisting with any number of Tableau-related questions. I use the tool every single day, and I never get sick of it, not even once. And today, our primary speaker will be Christin, who I will let introduce herself.
Thank you. Hi, I'm Christin. I'm a business intelligence developer at OU Health. I use Tableau almost every day, but mostly on the admin side because I'm on the OU Health admin team. It's the first place where I've ever been on the admin team, so I'm excited to share with you guys what I've learned over this past year. And oh, that's Spoons, and I was crazy and got the doggy DNA test, and I'm happy to report she's 75% Staffordshire Terrier, 12.5 Chow Chow, and 12.5 Great Pyrenees, because as you'll see, I'm an insane dog mom.
It's amazing. Which test did you get? It doesn't matter. We'll post it in the wrap-up link. Yeah, so the plan for today. Christin, what are we talking about?
What it is to be a Tableau administrator and what your duties are going to look at like if you decide to become one.
Oh, good. Good thing I'm not one. But Jeremy, this might be relevant for you.
Yeah.
A couple of things to think about is, as always, I like to mention the virtual event calendar. You do remember that you can attend any Tableau user group that is hosted virtually across the United States. All you have to do is navigate to the Tableau community events page where they were all listed. They also have the special interest groups that I like to mention. One of my coworkers runs the sports and entertainment Tableau user group that I like to also attend, where they have hosted a handful of popular sports teams. I think their next meeting is in a couple of weeks, and they're hosting the San Francisco 49ers, which is kind of neat. So they will be a guest speaker on their call. The Tableau Virtual IT Summit, I think, has just wrapped up, and you can watch all of those videos on tableau.com. There were some interesting pieces in there. A lot of customer testimonials talking about their favorite parts of the tool and how they are using it to transform their business. The video that I remember the most was the Bosch video. So Bosch, they make like the washers and dryers and such. They had some good hype pieces. We are still doing open office hours. I do not have a link for that because my subscription to Airtables has expired and I will need to renew it before I can send out a new link to request me, Christin, or Jeremy's time. But yeah, if you guys have questions about Tableau, or you're stuck on a calculation, or you think you're just this close but you can't figure out the right words to Google, just send us an email, drop us a line. I'm more than happy to hop on a call with you guys whenever you like. The last thing to think about is, what do you guys want to hear about? So today we're going to talk about server. In the past, we've talked about other concepts. Is there one that's missing? Is there one that you'd like to know more about? Let us know. And maybe we can fill in our October date with that topic. Or we're going to go absolutely wild and have way too much fun and come up with something of our own. But before that, we'll have our August meeting where Kent Sloan is going to talk us through new features that have been developed and published in 2021. I haven't played around too much in 2021 since most of the client work I've been assigned to, they are not using these versions yet. So I'll be particularly excited for this August meeting. But with that's all of my news and announcements. Christin, tell us more about the world of Tableau Admin.
Thank you. I will. First, I just want to say I think our October meeting should be roasting bad dashboards. I'm going to say it 5,000 times. That's what everyone should vote for. It's close to Halloween, it should be fun. Okay, Tableau Admin 101, or what did I get myself into? Maybe you're like me. I started with OU Health a little over a year ago. They said, who wants to join the Tableau admin team? I thought, I love Tableau. I've like added a few users on the site before. How hard could it be? And then all of a sudden they hand you things you've never seen before and you have to work in a command line and you're crying. So I just want to give everyone an overview of the idea of like what you are getting yourself into if you sign up for an admin team. First, there are two types of admins. You can be a site administrator or a server administrator. Or if you're lucky like me, you get to do both. It really depends on what your business has. Thank you, Jeremy. Thank you. So if your business only uses Tableau online, Tableau is going to maintain the server for you, and you're only going to have site admins. Site admins, if you have your own server, you're still going to need a site admin. And here I wanted to make the distinction where the site admin is more of a front end user, and that's my dog Spoons. I feel like dogs are more extroverted. She's here, she's ready to work with the customers on the front end, and you're going to be more focused on content and user management. If you're a server administrator, it's more of your traditional IT role, and I put my cat because she doesn't want to touch customers. She wants to live in the shadows and code. And that's only if your business uses your own instance of Tableau server. And we're going to talk more today about what a Tableau site admin does, because I feel like that's the more common admin type that companies are going to have. And it's what most of you are probably going to do if you're signed up to be an admin. So common site admin duties, you're going to be assigning user roles and adding users to your site, which is basically who can do what kind of users they are. You're going to be working on permissions to folders and projects. You're going to be putting up your business's folder structure, and you're going to be working with schedules and tasks. I just wanted to show right here, if you have a Tableau site, this area down here that I highlighted with orange, users and everything below that, you're only going to see that on the site if you're a site admin. That's where you're going to be doing most of your work when you're a site admin. I do want to call out just above that where it says external assets. You're only going to have that if your company has the server admin add-on. So if you just have site admin, you're not going to see that. And also for a fun treat today, I got my own little like Tableau server site going. It's got just about nothing on it because obviously I can't show you OU Health data. And every now and then we'll just be calling into here so I can click around and really demo for you guys what I'm talking about. Oh, wrong one. So first I want to talk about, not that one, this one, user site roles. User site roles and user licenses are two different things. Users are your main thing when you're an admin. So you'll get a package of user licenses and they come in three things. You're going to have creator, explorer, and viewer. Now, licenses are different than roles. Roles assign what people can see or really what they can do, what their capabilities are when they're on the site. But you could have a creator license and you could give someone an explorer or a viewer role with that creator license. And that's going to be your top tier. But when you have an explorer license, you can give them an explorer viewer role, but viewer license can only have a viewer role. Basically, it rolls down, it does not roll up. So I'm going to go through the site roles just one at a time. Viewer is your most common user role. It's really kind of self-explanatory. All they can really do is view, they can click on filters, they can interact with dashboards, but they can't download the data, they can't publish. And explorers, they can make web edits, so they can go into a dashboard, open it up, make their own version. And there's a second you can see down here where it says can publish. So you do have some explorers that can publish to the site. And then you get creators, which get to do everything. They get everything the explorer and the viewer does, Plus they get to create data sources. They can publish to the site, they can create data sources, they connect, they can download, they're your top ones. Another quick call out is you'll see this site administrator creator, site administrator explorer. If you're a site administrator creator, that means if you have Tableau desktop, you can publish out to the site. If you're a site administrator explorer, you cannot publish from Tableau desktop to the site. You can only publish from like making web edits in the browser. It's kind of an important call out because in order to be, if you want to be a site admin creator, that means that you're more troubleshooting and desktop and helping people move things that they've made on their desktop up to the site for them. And for fun, we can go in and we can just see where you would go into users, add users right here. I've already added the other Tableau user group leaders. Add them by email, or if you're like us, maybe in your Active Directory, you have like a 3x4 ID or something like that. You just go in here to enter the email address, and at the same time, you can pick what kind of role they have. Also, one of my favorite things about Tableau is, say I go look at Jeremy, who is, I'm sorry, Jeremy, unlicensed. And you go in here, it has this little eye, and Tableau will just go ahead and show you what every user can do when you go to reassign them. You can reassign licenses here as well. So if you don't know what you're doing, Tableau is great about just telling you right up front, so you don't have to worry too much about things. It's good to know, but they really kind of make it foolproof for you. So when we talk about users, one of my favorite things is not permissions, user groups. User groups are used for permissions. You want to group your users. Say like you add 20 users, 15 of them are HR. You want to make your life easier, make an HR group. Here you can see I put myself in the cool group and I put Jeremy, Kent, and Sean all in the not cool group. Very important distinction for our permissions. But you can base it on whatever makes sense for your company. And again, let's go back to demo time. You can do this in two ways. You can come in here and you can select a few people and you can go up to actions and hit group membership, and you can either add them to a group. They're not getting added to cool today, or you can create a new group, or obviously go over to the groups page and you can create new groups, or if I go into this one, I can add new users. Again, Tableau makes it very easy. I want to cover groups because we're going to cover permissions next, and it's going to make a lot more sense why you have this functionality. Permissions. Permissions are exactly what they sound like. Who can see what they can do, or as Tableau say, what capabilities they have. In Tableau, you have your folders called your projects, and then you have your workbooks or your views, your data sources, and you don't want someone from finance looking at the HR data and seeing what their best friend in finance makes, or you don't want, maybe I don't want someone in HR looking at patient data. And how do you control this on this big open site with permissions? So you can make permissions on your project level with your overall folder. You can either lock it to everything down there, or you can customize it each little piece. What's really nice is now when you come into a project, you can go in and add a user or add a group, and it has all the different tabs. So you can customize at every single level what you want people to see or not see, do or not do. And here's where it makes sense to have groups, because let's say I have an emergency department throughput dashboard and I have a group of executives that I want to see this, and I don't want to add these users one at a time and click all these little boxes. I can just add my group and make my overarching thing. Few important call outs. User settings do override group settings. So if I say that not cool people can't see what's in my folder and Sean's not cool, but then I decide that maybe I kind of like him, I can add him in individually and give him access. So even though his group doesn't have access, he can have it. Also, an important call out is that you can have permissions locked to a folder or to a project, but projects have subfolders. And now you can still customize on the subfolder. So if I have a folder for all of my clinical operations, and I don't want creators posting dashboards into this parent folder, but I have a subfolder for like emergency department or outpatient, I can make it so that people can publish into their respective folders within this parent one, but can't just put it out there in my big general folder space, which is a very nice feature.
So Kristen, quick question for you on like groups. I guess the way that you configure Tableau server, and you may or may not have a good answer for me here, but a lot of times the company will already have some of their AD user groups set up and kind of the way that they would like to manage permissions for Tableau. Is it possible to import those AD user groups in?
100%. And we do take advantage of this at OU Health. I just wasn't sure how many people or how deep to get into this. But yes, if you have an Active Directory set up with your company and you have Tableau server and you get those two things integrated, you absolutely can use your AD groups to be your Tableau permission groups, which makes everything much more seamless so that all parts of the business are speaking the same language and understand what those groups of individuals and what their level of access to the data is.
That's
Thank
awesome.
you, Jeremy. Yes. And to call out on permissions also, you have allowed, denied, or unspecified when you look at these capabilities, what people can do, whether they can view the dashboard, interact with filters, download the data, save their own version, blah, blah, blah. And they work in very specific ways. So even if someone is allowed, they're only allowed once you mark them that way if their default setting is allowed or unspecified. If you have it as a default that it is denied and you allow them, they're still not going to be allowed. Also, I almost forgot the important call with this when we talk about default is when you go into Tableau online, they always give you that default folder right when you join in. Whatever security settings you have on that default folder, they are now your template for all of your projects from then on. So if you deny people things in that default folder, or if you just have a base level permission you like for your company that you'd like to go off of for a template, put that on your default. Make sure that that is the template you want for your other folders. Which brings us to denied. It doesn't matter if their default is allowed, doesn't matter if it's unspecified, denied just denies them that. You really don't want to use these. It gets into the weeds. Sometimes you might forget you marked them denied on one thing. It can get kind of messy. So this is a very specific use case. And unspecified is also very important. If in that default folder or in your parent folder, someone is allowed to see something and you don't want them to see it in another area and you just leave them as unspecified thinking, that's a null. They're not going to see it. Well, they will. If their default is allowed, they will still see it because it just takes on that default setting that you set. And then again, let's go play because I'm talking to you guys virtually for an hour nonstop. I don't want to bore you. Let's go look at some things. So I made my cool people stuff folder or project. I put a data source and a flow in here. And if we go into permissions from our little hamburger, once it loads, you can see that I gave access to all users on the project level to view and save, and to the cool people. That's just me. But then I decided that I do not like Kent, who isn't here today, so it's easy to pick on him. And I denied him access to everything. And you can all see I love this. This is kind of new to me. You can go in here from workbooks and you can customize every little thing. I can decide that maybe Kent gets to filter on workbooks. And when you press on one of these buttons, it's automatically going to put it into edit mode and let you start changing things. It does also come with a template, so you can base it off that explore, publish, administer role, or just, let's just deny Kent everything.
This is what he gets for not showing up to the user group meeting, you know?
That's what he gets for having a client that he cares about. And you can do this across flows, data roles, data sources, everything from one-stop shop. I really love it. And like when you click on a group, it will tell you your group users down below and what their levels are. So again, Tableau just spells everything out for you, which is really nice and really handy. Also, I guess if you're illiterate, they made it all in icons like it's IKEA. So it's just very easy. And then that gets into this wonderful fuzzy world of folder structure. When you set it up, you really don't want to just be making folders on the fly for every little thing. You don't want it to become some crazy labyrinth where your end users don't know where to go. There's no rhyme or reason to it. And you want to make your life easier. Folders really should run on permissions. When you think Tableau site admin, your whole life really just revolves around permissions. So you want to think about what the content type at your business is. You want to think about what users need to see what. Really, people mostly base this off departments. I keep blasting on HR because that's sensitive data. Like you might have an HR folder, you might have a finance folder, and then you make those groups and it just makes your life easier. I know that we're talking about a folder structure where we just think about clinical ops, regular operations. And also, probably going to want a sandbox folder. Because if you have people publishing things out, you have analysts, they might want to play around with the dashboard. They might have something that they just spin up because someone asked for it and it's real quick, but it's not something that they want to live on in perpetuity on the server or on the site. And so it's a really good idea to have what we call a dev or a sandbox or an ad hoc folder for people to put those one-offs in or to put things that they're testing in that aren't in an official production folder. And then I just put my screenshot up here. I didn't make mine, perfect. Anytime you start up a Tableau online, you're going to have that default folder that we talked about. They just give you that. And then they also give you the samples folder with a few sample dashboards in it. And our next topic, schedules and tasks. This is kind of a big one. Your other thing as an admin is that you're going to be working with schedules and tasks most likely. Tasks are exactly how they sound. I have a flow to run. I have an email subscription to take care of. I have an extract refresh. That's a task. And then schedule, obviously, that's a list of schedules that I can assign to that task for how often they run. Tableau is going to give you a whole slew of pre-done schedules, just ideas of like what most businesses use. Monday morning, every day at 6 a.m. You can still create your own custom schedules though, and then assign them to tasks. Now, we have to stop here and really talk about what you think about with this. Whether you're using just Tableau Online or you have your own Tableau server, scheduling tasks becomes important. It's a place where if you do have Tableau server, your site admins and your server admins have to start collaborating because you have to think about when data loads, how long it loads, and what the server can handle. So let's say that my emergency room data refreshes on my source database, my production database at my business every morning at 6 a.m., but it takes 2 hours. And so it's done at 8 a.m. I really don't want to schedule my dashboard or my flow to reload at 7:30 because if that data is not done in the place that it's coming from, then that's just pointless. And I don't really want to schedule at 8 because what if it takes a little longer? And then let's say that every single data source from my company reschedules at the same time and I decide I'm going to set all of my schedules at 5 p.m. on Mondays. Well, a schedule is not a promised time. It's just a queue. And the server only has so much capacity. So if I've got 10 tasks running all at the same time, some of those might not be done till 9 p.m., depending on how big they are. Hopefully that is not the case, but do not stack your schedules all at one time. Try to put them out. You can prioritize them. You can say this one takes my top priority. But again, you want to talk to your data stewards, your BI devs, your data engineers, whoever knows what that data schedule is at your business so that you can schedule your task around them. And you want to talk to your server admins or keep in mind the Tableau online server so that you understand what kind of load it can take. So you're not crashing it or things aren't just taking forever and then your end users get upset. And for again, a nice little break to show you guys where you go in to do this. Here I have my task. I made a data flow, a prep flow, that brings an Excel sheet that just has the information of the Tableau user group leadership on it and puts my output onto my Tableau online. And then I hit it up with one of these schedules. Here you can see where I have all of your schedules. I got this basic Tableau online site. These all come pre-done. Again, you can make your own, but they really bring you with a nice lot of them. And you can see when it ran, how long it takes. It breaks it up between subscriptions, alerts, blah, blah, blah. All very handy.
Yeah, that's awesome. Gotcha that I ran into in, I think it was a pre-2020 version of Tableau Server was time zones and those kind of not syncing up well. But they have since then done some work. They like applied a patch and it makes it pretty seamless.
I didn't even think about time zones. I just took it for granted.
Yeah, so that's a gotcha. Definitely something to think about. What is the time zone of the server that you're running your task on? Yeah.
Sean, do you know too if you have just Tableau online and so Tableau is maintaining the server end, if they have like a default time zone or if it just knows where your company is? You're on mute.
Yeah, I do not know the answer to that, and we will ask Kent and send that one out. That's a good question. Setting default time zone for Tableau Online.
Nice. Yeah, good call out. And when you go, if I go into my flow, I can see when it succeeded the run, and I can also go in and see when it's scheduled. So there's so many different places where you can look at your scheduled task and whether or not things have run, because I love like everything is connected. I can go into where my flow is and I can see the schedule and task. I can go to task and see where my schedule is in my flow. Again, it's a no-brainer and all the information is right here at your fingertips, which is lovely, especially when you're troubleshooting. So this was just a quick overview. I might go back through my notes. I'm sure I missed a few key points about being a site admin. I couldn't get into everything. And then I just want to have a quick one-page call out about being a server admin, because I feel like not as many people are going to do it, but it's worth talking about. Now, because I can't show you pictures of our server and my command line, and I love screenshots. This is my boyfriend's dog, Charlie. He's my little stepson. He looks like a little Dobby here because he's sad because you stacked all of your schedules and misused the server hardware capacity. And just because I don't want you to fall asleep when I'm talking for 30 minutes about this stuff. If you're going to be a server admin, the main things you need to think about are your resources. You're very resource focused. What's your server hardware? What's your user count? How much traffic is going on so you know what you need. You're also going to be performing upgrades. Big call out here, don't do it during work hours. You know, if, again, working in healthcare, if we've got a dash about COVID, no one wants to do server upgrades at 8 a.m. when the executives are trying to look at COVID numbers on our Tableau site and it's all crashed. They'll be very angry. So you want to do these after hours and you'll want to make sure that you communicate with your end users and let them know that you're doing a server upgrade. It's going to be down and tell them when it's back up. And then this brings us to our next thing, take good backups. And by good, I just mean often and before each upgrade. You don't want to upgrade to a new version, find out that there's a bug that doesn't work with your company for whatever reason, have to go back to your old version and lose all your content and your old version. So always, always, please back up. Server admins really need to collaborate with site admins to figure out that user count. But again, if you're like me, our team just does it all.
Just a couple of other quick notes here, Kristen, if you don't mind.
I do not.
There is a great install guide that Tableau has available. It's called Everybody's Install Guide. So even if you're not a particularly well-versed IT person, this install guide is great about helping you understand what you need as far as technical specifications on the server and walking you through step by step doing a Tableau server install and deployment. And so that is certainly something to check out in the first place that I would stop if I were at my company and tasked with deploying Tableau server, whether it's online or Tableau online or the I guess the on-prem. And then, you know, in terms of taking good backups, absolutely agree with that. Something that I think most server admins would probably know, but I'll just say it anyways. Whenever you're taking your backups, you want to ship those off to a location other than where your server is. So if something happens, your server gets ransomware on it, or it crashes for whatever reason, you'll have those backups at a location other than where you're taking them from, if that makes sense.
Oh
So,
yeah, and before I forget, also think about things like query timeouts and extract load times. And you might want to set a default query timeout. So if someone's written really terrible SQL or has made an awful extract and it's taking 3 hours to run on your server, you might set a timeout and then find those things and tell people like, hey, make your SQL more efficient or rethink your extract because we're not doing this. Yeah, that's just not going to work. And Sean, do you have anything to add?
No, I think you covered like a lot of the really good high points. I mean, trying to think, I'm really trying to go through the Rolodex of ideas. Nope.
Yes. Okay, excellent. I know I went a little fast. It's my first time presenting on Zoom in a while. I was very excited and very nervous. Thank you guys for hanging out with me. And again, here's Charlie. He's much happier this time. And we're open for questions or comments, or if you want me to go play around on my site some more and show you something.
So I guess I've got a question that I'll throw out to the group, and maybe you all have some experience with this, maybe not. The client that I'm working with right now, we're doing something called trusted authentication. Sean, do you have any experience with that?
I do not specifically, but I know one of our other teams does a lot. And about these trusted tickets, correct?
Yeah.
So passing trusted tickets is always a great challenge.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it has been challenging. So basically what trusted authentication is supposed to do is say, you know, whenever your user is signing into the whatever application it is that they're signing into, Tableau is saying, we trust that you've done the authentication in your application or whatever it is. So whenever we get a request from, whenever Tableau server gets a request from that client, we're just going to send back a token, and you use that token in a URL to display your Tableau report, right? Did I kind of get that? I feel like I botched it a little bit.
That's about right.
Yeah. Anyways, that's something that I've been working through, and it's been a little bit challenging. In our case, we've got the Tableau server on an Amazon EC2 instance, and so doing it that way is, there's just been a host of different challenges with trying to figure out, you know, what IP address is actually making the request, I guess. So some fun digging through logs is where we're at right now.
Yeah, if Kent were here again, he would have a much better answer for you, I'm sure, or a direction to go look.
Yeah.
So maybe we send him a message after this.
Okay.
Ooh, I got a question in the chat.
Hooray.
They said, can you talk about row level detail and exporting data? Executives should be able to see all data. Different hospitals should only be able to see their data. What is a good way to tackle this?
Ooh, I personally would lean towards putting that into your data structure and not into permissions on the server. So you're speaking to this idea of row level security, and that should optimally be done at the data layer, right? So you would have some sort of supporting field that would grant permissions based off of a code attached to every record in your data source.
You can do it in Tableau Desktop too, though, before you publish. They do have a handy feature where you can, based off security, you can choose, like, it will literally take rows out of the data. I've used it before in working with higher ed, because when you get down to like a number of 3 students who are in a minority and it's a school of 2,000 students, everyone knows who that student is. So we've used that before to even just say, hey, when it gets this low, just make stuff disappear. You can do it in the desktop, but Sean's right to do it in the other areas more efficient.
So like Sean, what you're saying is if you have Tableau prep, you're doing it in like your prep flow, or you're doing it at the database.
Yeah,
or...
I would say that the best way to do it is at the database level, right? Because oftentimes what I find with row level security is that it's something that needs to change in time, right? So like whatever row level security permissions you set up won't be permanent. And so you'll want either like an Excel file or, I mean, that's like the simplest form, right? Is like you hand someone an Excel file and you say, put in who should see which fields. And you just write their name down and you say either all fields or some fields. And then I use that table as a reference against all of my other queries. And so every row that's generated, it goes and looks and says, you know, does this person meet the criteria to see this, hospital or region, or everything, and then it would be in Tableau a data source filter.
Right. Okay.
So you can you can make like a user filter that only passes through records that they match to.
Yeah. I guess outside of row level security, so let's just say we don't have anybody on staff who is got the technical acumen to apply this at the data layer.
Mhm.
Would another maybe suboptimal approach be creating different versions of the report with filters applied that we then publish to different folders that have permissions? That sounds like maybe a bad idea because we got duplicate
Yeah.
versions of the report.
So if I were the Tableau developer that was doing this, I would do exactly what I said and just make an Excel sheet on my own that has like names and regions or names and hospitals that I would use as just to create you don't even have to do it at the database level, right? You can just take this Excel file and publish it up as a data source to use. And because you don't want to replicate workbooks. Replicating workbooks is bad because once I start duplicating them and then I have to start making edits to them, then I have to start making edits like 7 or 8 times in a row.
Yeah.
And that's just the most painful thing. Hey, Sean, will you go change the font on this one tiny box? It doesn't look great. Okay, well, now I have to go do that for every region because now I have a report for every region.
Yeah.
And that's just awful.
Agreed.
But yeah, I mean, the same idea applies, right? Is you just use this support sheet to drive that filter that would filter the view. And then you can base that off of Active Directory groups if that's easier, right? So like if you have an Active Directory group, or you can go make a group like Christin was doing. Like if I wanted the cool people only to see just these few things, you could set that up. And so that was something that they added in some of the more recent versions of Tableau, was being able to reference username and user group in a calculated field.
And it's like it's just a built-in function or something like that.
Yeah, it's literally just username. So like if username, is equal to the column, then produce the field for me.
Another good
Gotcha.
call-out is if you have Tableau desktop and you're doing that, and you're an admin, you have a functionality at the bottom that says view as user, and you could go in and test that and view it as any of the users, and it'll filter the data and show you what it look like to them, so you can check those security functions if you're using calculated fields and user groups in your desktop workbook. Thank you, Greg, for that question. Do we have any more before we hit are we going to do the wheel today?
No wheel today.
Oh,
Okay.
Sorry. Next time, though, there will be wheels. They always spun. There'll be prizes.
Yes. That's a little disappointing, but does anyone have any other just Tableau related questions? It doesn't have to be about being an admin or security or anything like that. LODs that are bothering you.
mm.
Pictures of your animals. Nothing.
Nope.
Nothing. All
I
right.
guess not.
Well, that's a wrap for this month then.
Oh, the current version is 2021.1.2. Yes, Spencer, thank you.
Very specific. Good work, Kristen, to know that immediately.
I just got done helping upgrade our servers.
Oh, great.
Oh, we have another one. We have another one. Yes. They don't like messaging you. They just like
yeah,
messaging me.
they're going straight to you.
I am currently working on a large dashboard, approximately 50 dashboards with approximately 10 worksheets. What is the limit all in one workbook? I didn't know that you could get 50 dashboards in one workbook. Is there a limit?
You can get so much more. I've seen things with upwards of like 4 times that amount.
Oh, wow.
Don't do that.
First off, I want to ask why would you do that?
There's no good answer to that.
That's like a case.
Yeah, so what you're going to find is that the more sheets and more objects you add to that workbook, you're going to start experiencing what Tableau isn't great at, which is visual rendering. This is often the biggest pain point for Tableau, is just producing the visuals of the screen. And the more objects that you give it to render and create, the longer or slower your views will be. Highly recommend breaking each of those dashboards out into maybe their own workbook or grouping them into different workbooks, if at all possible. If your client or a stakeholder just like refuses, then your hands are kind of tied and they'll just have to deal with the performance blowback of that. And eventually they'll probably come and be like, hey, this is so slow, what can I do? And then you could come in and be like, allow me to help you understand. A useful article for reference was just published. Humble brag. I try not to inject too much inner works propaganda here, but we did just publish a Tableau white paper a few weeks ago about dashboard and workbook optimization. So Tableau came to Interworks and said, hey, can you guys help us create a go-to document so that we can start handing that out to help drive people to better decisions in their workbooks. And so we published something that was like almost 200 pages long with plenty of graphs and visuals to really dive super deep into workbook optimization. And so if you just search like workbook or dashboard optimization in Tableau, you should find the white paper pretty close to the top of the Google search.
Did Kent help write that?
Kent did help, but his name isn't on the authoring, which is tragic.
At all.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He might be mentioned in there, but the authors as officially are Matt Hughes and Ben Basili.
He must not have showed up the day that they turned it in.
Yeah, that's probably it.
And that brings me back to a point that Jeremy made earlier. I just want to say it again. The Tableau documentation is great. If you're becoming an admin, you don't know what to do. If you just Google help with anything, Tableau has endless documentation that takes you by step, and Robbie, our head admin, who's taught me everything I know. I don't want to disparage him. He's fantastic or discredit him, but I do feel like I could maybe get through server upgrade by myself just because Tableau makes it so explicit for you.
Especially in the newer versions, right? So after, what was it, like 10.5, they swapped over to like the TSM tool. And it's just so much easier now. It's like 2 clicks and you're done.
Yes, and if you're working through your console to be a server admin, the TSM commands are simple and straightforward, and they've worked every time we've used them. So
Cool. All right. Well, thanks everyone for showing up, and we'll go ahead and wrap it up there. Yeah.
yeah.
Awesome. Bye, everyone.
Bye. Thank you.
See ya. Have a good weekend.